Hey everybody, hope you guys are healthy and safe. So this is the Vivo V29 and it is the newest mid-tier phone from Vivo. Now here's a confession, I actually struggle with reviewing mid-tier phones because I have the privilege and luxury to test all the flagship phones. And even before I did this job for a living, when I was buying my own phones, I would buy only flagship phones anyway. So it's tough for me to review mid-range phones because in the back of my head, I will always know that no matter how good that mid-range phone is, it is just an inferior version of that same company's flagship phone. For example, when I review, say, the iPhone SE or the Google Pixel 7a or the Samsung Galaxy FE series, I know that all three of those phones are just inferior versions of those same company's flagship phones. Like there's no way in hell a Galaxy S21 FE would be better than the S21. Likewise, the iPhone SE was going to be a worse version of the iPhone 14 Pro in every single way. There's no component in the Pixel 7a that's better than in the Google Pixel 7 Pro. But that's not the case with Vivo's V Series. Vivo's actually given the V Series some like one or two features in the past that actually it's not only better than in the flagship phones, but better than many other phones in the market. For example, the Vivo V21 and 23 had the best front-facing cameras of any phone on the market at the time. So better than Vivo's own flagship phones. And now the Vivo V29, there's a new Aura light right here. I mean, that's the name that Vivo calls it, Aura light, but it's really just like a giant flashlight, a fill light to provide additional lighting. But this light can't be found in Vivo's flagship phones and it can't be found in any other major phone that I know of. So this is a feature that makes this phone special. It can do some things that other phones cannot do. And so because of that, I think Vivo's V Series is a little bit more interesting to cover than, say, Samsung's FE series or the iPhone SE series. Because, for example, this is a mid-range phone, but it can charge at 80-watt speeds. Apple and Samsung's flagship phones can't even go half as fast. And I've been charging a V29 with the AOE 140-watt GAN charger. So this is 80-watt charging. This can pump out 140 watt of power. So obviously, this is overkill for this. But because this charger has two USB-C ports and a USB-A, I've been able to charge the Vivo V29 at its maximum 80-watt speeds, along with the Xiaomi 13 Ultra at its maximum speed, and an older iPad Pro that my mom's using, all three at maximum speeds. So AOE is sponsoring this portion of the video, but even if they weren't sponsoring, this would be a product I would use. Look at this thing. It's a 140-watt charger, but it is smaller than Ugreen's 140-watt charger. It's like about 5 to 8% smaller in all the dimensions. And you know, the Ugreen charger was already a pretty cutting-edge product. If you look at this Anker charger, granted, this is like 3 years old, but this is an Anker 80-watt charger. And look at how big this is compared to AOE's 140-watt charger. I also like that this charger has a light here that will show you the 3 different stages of charging. And I can also charge my 16-inch MacBook Pro from 0 to 56% in just 30 minutes. If you're interested in this product, check out the link in the description below. Thanks to AOE for sponsoring this portion of the video. Okay, back to the Vivo V29. So this phone has a 6.8-inch Samsung AMOLED panel. So it's a better display panel than what's seen in the Google Pixel 7a. Resolution 2800 by 1200. This is also the highest resolution in a Vivo V Series phone yet. It's 1.5K resolution. Viewing angles are a little bit below par in my opinion. If I tilt the phone sideways, I can see a little bit of color shift and the maximum brightness isn't as high as I would like from the side. When I look at it straight on, maximum brightness is pretty good even under harsh sunlight. For a mid-range phone, this is a really, really good screen. 120Hz refresh rate, animations are buttery smooth. Unfortunately, the phone's overall build, it's very plasticky. The back is plastic, the frame is plastic, so it feels very plasticky in the hand, even though it is a comfortable in-hand feel with a 7.5 millimeters in thickness, so that's relatively thin, and 186 grams of weight, so it's really lightweight. For someone who's been using heavy phones like the Galaxy Z Fold 5 or the Xiaomi 13 Ultra, this phone is a breath of fresh air in the hand because it's so light. Although the plasticky feel is, you know, I've been spoiled by premium flagship phones, so it does feel very plasticky. But surprisingly, this phone has IP68 water and dust resistance, so that's pretty cool. You don't usually get this in a mid-range phone, but Vivo is giving it to you here in a device that I don't know the official price of this phone yet, but it should be under $500 US given previous history of Vivo devices. And this phone will go on sale in throughout Southeast Asia, so like Thailand, Singapore, Malaysia, India, and also parts of Europe. The chip inside is a Qualcomm Snapdragon 778, which is a pretty respectable chip for a mid-range phone. Paired with 8 gigs of RAM, I've had no performance issue with the phone doing day-to-day basic tasks like going on Instagram, sending text message, sending emails. Now, as I said earlier, the main selling point of this phone is the Aura light right here. And you can see that it can actually change color temperature. So I can have it warmer or cooler depending on the color vibe that I want. There's also an automatic color temperature sensor in here. That means the phone can change the color temperature for you automatically if you don't want to have manual control. So this is good because if you're taking photos at night in a room with yellow light, that fluorescent light, photos come out very yellowy. It doesn't look good. So with this phone, I can just turn on the Aura light, cool the lighting a little bit, and then get a shot that's a little bit more balanced. It won't look as yellow as if I shoot with an iPhone or a Samsung Galaxy A53. On top of that, because the lighting area is much larger, you will get more even lighting instead of, when you usually shoot with flashlight, you get that very harsh lighting on the face that doesn't look good. This one, I mean, I wouldn't say it's like a complete fix, but at least the lighting, it's a little bit more spread out. So it looks slightly more natural than shooting with a flash. It helps that the main camera hardware is pretty good, 50 megapixel f1.9, 1/1.6 inch image sensor. Along with Vivo's pretty mature, sophisticated software image processing, the main camera performance has been very good. On top of that, that vintage film filter that I really like in the Vivo flagship phones, that has carried over here, and they look really good for a mid-range phone. Just look at these. I mean, some people may think this looks a little bit gimmicky because you're making a digital photo look more like an analog vintage camera style, but I really like it. I think it adds a mood to shots that look very good on social media. These photos, anytime I post them on Instagram, I get comments saying, wow, these look great. Around the front, you have a 50 megapixel selfie camera, and I think this is a really good front-facing camera, not just for a mid-range phone, but even among flagship phones. Vivo does a really good job of exposing my face, but also not blow out highlights behind me. Like right here, you see I'm shooting with really harsh backlight behind me. On the camera viewfinder, you see it's actually all blown out. But after I take the shot, you jump in the sample, you see that Vivo's software has fixed the lighting. Now I have a selfie that's perfectly balanced. I think for the front-facing camera and rear-facing main camera, Vivo did a really good job considering this phone is under 500 bucks. Unfortunately, the 8 megapixel ultra-wide camera here is pretty weak, and I will only use it during the day and night. Completely soft. For video performance, there's actually OIS in the main camera, so you get pretty stable main camera too. For front-facing camera, you can actually shoot in 4K resolution, which again, a lot of flagship phones, including Vivo's flagship phones, can't even do. So yes, you can shoot in 4K resolution, which is what you're watching right now, 4K front-facing camera. In terms of software, this phone runs Android 13 with FunTouch OS on top. I've already, spoken a lot about FunTouch. I'm not that big a fan of it. I think it's okay. I don't completely hate it. All the basics are here, like an app tray. It doesn't really get in the way. You swipe down, you get a notification shade with all your shortcut buttons at the top. But I think the icons just look a little bit outdated, and compared to Origin OS, which is Vivo's China-only software, Origin OS is just a lot more fun with interactive widgets and an aesthetic that's much better looking. I think Vivo should really consider bringing Origin OS to a global audience because FunTouch OS just looks a little bit dated. This looks like a software from like 2017. The battery in here is a 4,600 mAh cell, and it's enough to power the phone 14 hours all day easily. I'm a very heavy user, and I was able to be out 14 hours on this phone without any problems. As for charging, like I said, 80 watt fast charging. The package comes with an 80 watt charger, but I've been using AOE's 140 watt charging brick, and I can get full 80 watt charging speeds, 0 to 100 in about 35 minutes from my testing. So like I said earlier, I don't know the official price of this phone. It should be around 460, 470 US dollars. And I think at this price, this is worth a look if you want a phone with a really good front-facing camera and you shoot a lot of photos or portraits in really low light conditions. Like for example, if you're someone who likes to go to bars and clubs and you want to take portraits of your friends, it really helps having this fill light. It's better than night mode because night mode requires everyone to stay still. If you try to take a night mode photo of at a club when people are moving, you get blurry shots. With this, you don't have to use night mode because you have a fill light that brings in a lot of light. So there's a clear use case for this phone. So yeah, that's about it for this review of the Vivo V29. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider subscribing to my channel. It will help me a lot. And thanks again to AOE for sponsoring a portion of this video. Thanks for watching.